along, of course, and I'm going to just step aside because he's got a list. Actually, he's got two lists of things
Yeah.
to go for. So go for it.
Okay. So let's start off with the really encouraging stuff because everyone's reading the same news
Yeah.
reports.
Yeah.
And again, I just so you understand Israel a little better, folks. Everything in Israel goes through the military censor.
Hmm.
Everything, not just now during war, all the time. So for our American friends who are used to, like, when there's, God forbid, an active shooter situation at American high school, they've got a reporter on the scene, she or he is talking about it as it happens.
Yeah.
That doesn't go here.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of a delay. One of the things, by the way, someone wrote me and said, there are obviously so many casualties on our side. Why is it only now that you're starting to see the names and the faces of the young soldiers and civilians? And it's because, without any details, our forensic specialists, and here in Israel we have a lot of practice, are having a very, very, very difficult time identifying the remains
Yeah.
based in the shape that they were left.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's switch over to some good news. Stories are emerging of the heroism of our young men and women in uniform and out of uniform. These will be stories that will go on for generations. We'll wait till the dust is all settled. I'm sure people will begin compiling these remarkable stories of heroism, sacrifice, in Hebrew, mesirut nefesh, self-sacrifice. We'll talk more about that. I also want to frame things. Less than 3 weeks ago was Yom Kippur, approximately
Hmm.
3 weeks ago. Yom Kippur, there was a major altercation in Tel Aviv amongst Jews who wanted to have a large prayer gathering for Yom Kippur in public, and those who were so avowedly secular that they objected to the putting up. By the way, for those of you who hear that ringing in the background, that's my ring on our red alert. In the event that I have to put this down and go into the safe room, we'll pick up the broadcast
Yeah.
11 or 12 minutes later,
Yeah.
God willing, with Hashem's help. Anyway, so the vehemently anti-religious individuals interfered with this. Is on Yom Kippur. So this highlighted how incredibly torn apart our society was.
Yeah.
People were talking about civil war. Reservists were talking about refusing to go into, when they're called. So let me touch upon that real quickly. The rate of reservists responding has been 130%. You have to understand, people who are either past the age or are in units that haven't been called up have been going and saying, take me.
Wow.
There was a situation of a boyfriend and girlfriend who escaped the dance party and within 2 days had volunteered to go into their units.
Hmm.
This is unbelievable. The level of volunteerism is startling. Now, it's not just volunteering to make meals for our soldiers,
Hmm.
which is amazing, or to take care of them. There's volunteerism for all the displaced refugees from our southern communities.
Hmm.
So people are raising and purchasing toys of all kinds. Textile manufacturers are, at their cost, getting towels, toiletries, you name it, to all these people. Homes are opening up all over the country. People saying, "Hey, I've got 2 beds here. Hey, I've got this. Hey, if you don't mind sleeping, in sleeping bags on the floor, I'd be glad to have." So this is a level of unity And, I just want to stop for a second. Every once in a while, I'll talk about my country and our people. Understand something. I want to be very clear to those watching this. It's our country. It's our people. It's the classic is you is or is you ain't. And again, someone's one day has got to come up with this really brilliant idea to create a ministry called Joined to Hashem. Because that's, either you are joined to Hashem, which means that you bleed like I do. And I have to tell you, I actually feel worse for you, Mike, and our listeners, because I've been in America years ago when things happened and buses blew up and all kinds of things happened. So, but, and it's not just the refugees from the South, elderly people, like my daughter, Ayala, she goes to visit elderly people who are alone, who are afraid. And if they're Nitzalei Shoah, if they're survivors of the Shoah, this and the images of what happened to our people is it frightens all of us. It's devastating for them. Catering of meals. Oh,
Okay.
I thought we were frozen. Okay.
Yeah, cut off catering of meals.
Yeah, you can sponsor like for other people. And I told you people are going and babysitting other people's children, total strangers, total strangers. I mean, I'm trying to imagine in New York City, volunteering to go and sit in someone's home. If the rockets get close, you will hear this is the one thing about Modiin. We haven't had many rockets fired directly at us, but we have them really close.
Yeah.
And the reason I keep glancing down is to know if there's going to be that loud boom, boom.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll deal with that as it happens. Now,
I'm glancing too in case you miss one.
Yeah. One of the pallets and pallets of supplies are arriving. Jewish communities throughout the world are donating and raising money. The American Jewish community, which except for the modern Orthodox Jewish community, had essentially written Israel off during this whole proposed judicial reform thing. Everybody's I mean, I was a young kid at the time of the 67 war.
Yeah.
But I remember reading about it afterwards, how like everyone had this sense of involvement. Speaking of involvement, El Al has been flying all over the world, picking up Israelis returning for reserve duty. No other country in the world would people drop their vacations in Mexico, Thailand, backpacking throughout Europe to rush back. A story made the press the other day, an Israeli flight from Bangkok. They were already full, and there were still people waiting. So the first thing the pilot did was he brought on another 20 people to sit in those little fold-down seats that the flight crew uses. And there were still more people. So they brought in, we many of us have flown a lot. Imagine this. They brought on another 10 to sit on the floor in the kitchen in the galley section.
Wow.
And there are pictures of these guys sleeping. Bangkok to Israel is not a short flight. It's not a short haul. And the captain repeatedly would come through, making sure that the flight crew, all the attendants, were taking care of everybody. Okay. El Al flew on Shabbat to do this, the first time in 41 years that El Al has flown on Shabbat. Now, as people have been going to reserve duty, people have offered to take reservists, people have carpooled, but then there were these pictures, there were videos of cars lining both sides of the road leading up to bases in the south. Volunteers, not called up, have been driving these cars back to the families of the reservists so their wives and children would not be left stranded. This is unbelievable. So this is among the really, really good news. Let's switch to Modiin specific news. As I mentioned, I think on our last broadcast, Modiin has just put together a rapid response team of 100 combat veterans. And these are combat, and again, I'm choosing my words carefully. These are guys from combat units, elite units, commando units. This is not the guy that, drove the trucks for 2.5 years. Okay. Construction in our city, and Modiin is Israel's fastest growing city, has come to a total stop. And people have said, well, it's obvious because all the workmen are Arab. Let me be more specific. All of the workmen are Arabs from Shomron, Samaria. Where I live, it's about 2, maybe 2.5 kilometers, and you're in the southern part of Shomron, Samaria. People don't really, when I explain that Modiin is between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, they're like, and not understanding Israeli geography, you're like, oh, okay, so like you're like in a paradise. Yeah. Even with my bad leg, in about 45 minutes, I can be into Samaria walking, limping. What separates Modiin from Samaria is a fence. Now, we're not talking about the separation wall near Beit Lechem, near Bethlehem. We're talking about a fence with barbed wire on top. We're talking about the kind that like an auto parts factory in Franklin, North Carolina would put up so teenagers don't come in and vandalize their stuff. That's all that's there. So one thing that's bizarre is there's our Modiin Facebook group, which is a real waste of time generally. But there's the Israeli one in Hebrew called Modiin Shelanu. And someone began writing, I don't want to be specific, but is there anyone else that's hearing noises at night? And what they were specifically referring to is digging noises. Now, understand, we are nowhere near Gaza. But we are next to Samaria. So there are people who are thinking that the Arabs there are tunneling up into Modiin. Now, I've been using the term stupid and moron a lot, so I don't want to use that now. But let me just explain something to you. Modiin is a city. It's about 105 to 110,000 people. There's no fence around Modiin. It's a city. You don't need a tunnel to get into our city. But there's that level of paranoia. So the level of paranoia takes on another point. You heard some stories in Gaza of families that were able to go into their safe room and lock themselves in. We have a safe room here in Modiin but understand something. These buildings were built, Modiin is less than 25 years old. These buildings were built or designed in the 90s. In the 90s, the safe room concept was thanks to Saddam Hussein firing Scud missiles. So the idea was that this could sustain, hopefully, a rocket strike and poisonous gas. It had nothing to do with a terrorist intrusion in your home. A home invasion. So there is no way to lock it. So people are losing their minds. And I'm thinking, you know what? In a city of 105,000 people, I'm not going to lock myself in a little room for a very simple reason that if they've gotten this far, there's no one coming to my rescue.
Yeah.
So that's and again, you've got the, all these alerts going all the time. Construction, Shomron, tunneling, safe rooms. Okay. As a transition to other news, I have deleted more people on Facebook in the last 11 days than I have in the last year together. Why? Or as we say in Hebrew, ¿por qué? People writing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that this was actually, and someone, and it wasn't one of my friends. I saw this on someone else's timeline. I almost had a stroke. This was a false flag operation designed so Israel could ethnically cleanse Gaza. By the way, it is worth noting that Egypt, Jordan, and Turkey said they're not taking in any humanitarian Gazans. Forget it. But I mean the things like this was an inside job. I mean, you say stupid things like this. I don't want to hear from you. Now, speaking of hearing, the rhetoric from the terrorists and their supporters throughout the world appears really loud. But to me, again, because I don't think conventionally, the silence from our supporters to me is deafening. I mean, I was thinking the other, I have way too much time to think now. And you remember that commercial they used to have, a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been wasting mine for way too long.
Yeah.
You sit and I was thinking of all the people who've hosted me in their homes over the years, who really view me as a brother. I'm not saying write to me. I'm not even saying donate to me. I'm not even saying send money for me to donate locally. No, I'm not saying any of that. But don't post what you're posting on Facebook. Post one little, I stand with Israel.
Yeah.
I've gotten, in the last week, I mentioned this in our last broadcast, and I keep getting these notes from people I guided. A woman the other day said, I know you're not going to remember me, and I'm sure you won't recognize me, but you guided me at Masada and Ein Gedi. So, of course, the picture that she has on WhatsApp is her upside down doing a cartwheel. So I couldn't recognize her if she was my sister. Anyway, so a woman from Germany, and she writes, can you send me a link so I can contribute to the efforts of the IDF and the victims of terrorism?
Wow.
Notes from Singapore. I even got from a few Americans that I've guided, although not nearly as, by the way, there was another German family, and they were clever. They sent pictures that we took together at Masada. So, it's like, this is who we are. An interesting thing for another day when this is all over, looking forward to that day, is why it is that I'm able to bond so well with our German tourists. It's kind of a fascinating thing, because knowing me, you would think that those would be the people that I would be furthest apart from. Very interesting. Anyway, of course, the big news is, although we have no tourists in our country, we do have Joe Biden. No point in talking about that. Biden has said some wonderful things in support of Israel. He has given us advanced armaments. Sadly, we are very, very dependent upon American weaponry. Why it is that my government has not stockpiled that is another thing. And there will be literally hell to pay when this is over. We already have had the head of the Shin Bet, the American equivalent is the FBI, admitted to failures, that they saw things happening, like they saw things as late as 4 o'clock in the morning on that Shabbat morning and said, well, we'll talk about it in the morning. Our head of military intelligence, they've both taken full responsibility. Our chief of staff, the only one who's really responsible is our prime minister. And that has to do with our policy towards Hamas versus the Palestinian Authority.
Yeah.
A fascinating thing. I've got a lot of information about that. Again, that will have to wait till another day, but it is very interesting as to what the policies of the Israeli government have been and what has led us to this situation.
I was just cut in here a little bit. I was really surprised this morning when I woke up about 1 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, to check my phone. Somehow my phone was on silent, but I was hearing in my sleep, I guess, the rocket alerts, and I couldn't lay there any longer. So I got up, and I was really surprised that they had allowed what they had allowed Blinken earlier, and now allowed Mr. Trippin to get there. He did make it onto the plane without tripping, but I was surprised he got there and that they actually went through with this thing.
Yeah,
then I started reading a couple of
it is pretty shocking.
Yeah, then I started reading a couple of his statements of Israel, we've got your back. And I'm kind of thinking about a person that has your back might have a knife in their hand. I'm also I saw the words of regarding that attack or that failed rocket. And thank you for posting that picture, by the way, that video. The rocket that went in and has now killed, with the last estimate is 500 people in Gaza. And Biden comes out, excuse me, and says, sorry. Biden comes out and says, well, that was from the wrong team. I'll probably say this more on my program in a few minutes with Barry Phillips, but Mr. Biden, we're not playing soccer. This is not baseball. This is not a team. We're not playing, tiddlywinks together. This is war, not a team sport. So that's just my thought.
He's not our first foreign visitor. Chancellor Scholz of Germany came yesterday. Macron of France is supposed to come. Zelensky of Ukraine wanted to come, and we said, no, thanks.
No.
Stay away from us.
Yeah.
So it's the estimates that I'm hearing from people is they're talking about a 2 to 3 month war.
Yeah.
Israel has never fought that long since our War of Independence in 1948. The thing is, I don't see America and the European Union allowing us to fight that long. Not that they care about us.
No.
But, this whole idea of, like, first and foremost, humanitarian aid. There isn't a dollar that's ever gone into Gaza since 2007 that doesn't first go into the pockets of Hamas. Now, I was watching a video, I didn't catch which news station it was, where they were trying to get this Muslim woman, she kept saying that Israel's response in Gaza is inappropriate. So the news anchor was trying to get her to say, well, what do you think would be an appropriate response for 1,400, men, women, and children, and the elderly, et cetera, et cetera? Oh, remind me, I have another anecdote to tell you about Hawara. And she wouldn't answer that. And she kept talking about, for 75 years, this is her words, not mine, the Palestinian people have been under occupation for 75 of them. And, it's intolerable. So the anchor said, well, wait a second. Israel didn't control Jerusalem until 1967. So for 19 years, Oh, this wasn't, no, this wasn't the same thing. This was another guy in the street that was saying this. For 19 years, Jordan controlled the old city of Jerusalem, quote unquote, East Jerusalem, and all of what the Arabs and the Americans call the West Bank. Why didn't they create a Palestinian state? Anyway, speaking a segue into Yosh, Judea and Samaria, Hawara, our favorite, non-favorite city.
Yeah.
Um, they have a pizza shop there. I'm sure they have more than one. And the pizza shop had this horrific advertisement. You know that elderly woman that they dragged from her home in Israel and took her to Gaza, and she was in a golf cart, and they forced her to make a V sign. They had that picture, that image with a V, and it was photoshopped that like she's, giving the V sign for the pizza. So the Israeli response typically is there's an immediate order to seal the store, they place a business, whatever it is, and then they would, discuss it afterwards. So the order came to seal it, but like within, and I'm talking about within hours, an IDF bulldozer came and essentially took away the entire, what there's a word for it, the front part of a store.
Facade.
Just thank you. I knew it started with an F, but I didn't want to just blurt out F words. Haha. So yeah, they took away the whole thing. We are having instances, our government keeps talking about zero tolerance for incitement, but I saw a video taken in Kfar Qasim. Kfar Qasim is an Arab town, Arab Israeli town in the Galilee.
Mm-hmm.
This has been part of Israel since the reformation of the state of Israel in 1948. Mm-hmm. And these guys on motorcycles and in cars had big Hamas flags. So people say, why didn't the police, we don't have enough police personnel, soldiers, security personnel to go around and take care of everything.
Yeah,
we
nobody's
don't.
showing up if you get into a small accident, nobody's coming.
Well, when people say to me, because when I tell them that Israel has 7.2 million Jews, they're like, that's amazing. I said, what would be more amazing if more than a trickle of the other 8 million Jews in the world would actually think of coming. Yeah. Every day I see the casualty reports. Every day I read of our fallen soldiers, police personnel, security personnel, our civilians, the hostages. I mean, I keep warning people not to watch the videos. I watch all of them. And, it's beyond belief. I want to make it very clear to our listeners, though. Israel, as you know it, will never be the same. But the goal is that we'll be better. We will be better. We will be better as a society. We'll have more achdut, unity. We'll have more tolerance for each other. And we will show the same level of loving kindness that you see everywhere you go now. Mm-hmm. And that's the goal. That's the goal. The goal is to come out of this. And by the way, just as a heads up, we're all waiting for the ground war. I caught a statement that the IDF spokesperson made where he said, well, the next phase is not necessarily a total ground invasion. So you can be rest assured that we have commando units going in and out. When I was talking about stupid things that people say, I saw a meme that was posted up, pray for SEAL Team 6 who are on the ground right now. And I fired off a thing saying, source, and someone said, well, they're in the Red Sea. The Red Sea to Gaza
Mm,
is like, it's further than Franklin, North Carolina to Gloucester, Virginia.
yeah.
You
And
know,
and
it's
and by
it,
the way, if SEAL Team 6 is there, you wouldn't know it,
yeah, I mean,
to begin
then
with.
and then someone that I know, when someone asked, about American troops, I'm glad Biden's sending American troops. The 2,000 Marines, and by the way, they would not want to be called troops or soldiers, they're Marines.
Yeah.
The 2,000 Marines in the carrier force are not, they're not the typical Marine light infantry. They're specialists in logistics, medical, etc., etc., if needed. But I had a friend who was insisting, yeah, there are American troops in Israel right now. You really? Where?
Well, this is the thing, and I saw this during the Oslo War, the Intifada, early 2000s. There was one person that was posting all the time, and the things that were being said by this person, I won't give a name right now, but I mean, it took nothing to figure out this was just garbage. There was, they'd report on Americans there fighting. It was just stupidity. But
Well,
people continued to post it. I mean,
right.
somehow there's this thing that a lot of people, if they see it, they believe it. Um, I was on the phone the other night. Ended up, I was here with Eddie Chumney, and a gentleman called to talk to Eddie about the war in Israel, and so Eddie handed me the phone, and he was he was talking about, well, I saw these videos in Israel. I said, you do? Do you know the source of it? Well, no. So you saw a video? Yeah. And you believe that video? Well, yeah, it was a video. Okay. Just because it's a video, you don't know if that was staged. You don't know what the circumstance. You don't know what was behind the camera. You're only seeing, like with me right here. Hold on, you can only see, right somewhere like that. This is difficult to do backwards, by the way. So somebody
Yeah,
can only,
I'm
yeah,
watching
got
you
it.
struggle, and I want to help you. I want to reach out
I know.
and hold your fingers and help
Yeah,
you. I'm sorry, man.
yeah, but you don't know if Kaya is sitting next to me on the floor.
I have no idea.
Yeah, she's not, by the way. But I said she's not, but is she really? I don't
Yeah,
know. So just because it's on a video, just because it's in print, doesn't mean it's true. But you talk about the people you're seeing on social media. Hold on. We've asked a question between ourselves for many years. We gotta get this wrapped up. And it goes back to is or is you ain't. We've asked ourselves, who is actually Ephraim? I think we're finding that revelation before us today. I want to say a personal thank you to all the people, the deluge of Kathy got back in from Ohio, and I had not sent her the PayPal's. She was, I think, in tears after a while of putting in everything. I can't give out numbers, but it's quite a bit of money. We've been able to send to Israel so far, but my statement I want to make to people is this: this is October. Okay, people have been very generous in October. I pray that when November comes,
yeah,
we do not forget. So we need to make Israel a part of what we do on a
absolutely.
monthly basis.
Yeah,
Um, Understanding that there's going to be this is going to be a long haul. The
absolutely.
at
With
least we can continue to pray and to give what we can.
absolutely.
Hashem does not ask you to do more than you're able to do. So don't be
The
guilty that you can't give $100,000 when all you can give is 10. He doesn't expect
No,
anything more
not
than
at all.
what you can do.
Absolutely. Just one quick thing, and then
Yeah,
I know we
go
have
for
to
it.
go. Everyone, please make note. Connect to Israel, March 2024 and September 2024.
Yes.
Bezrat Hashem, with Hashem's
Bezrat
help.
Hashem.
So,
I'll
y'all start
be
saving.
yeah, we're
Keep
working
saving.
on dates. We're working on dates right now. God willing, by next week, I will have talked to the hotels. We have my commitment to those people who have already signed up that want to just, take the money and put it over to March. We're going to hold that price no matter what it costs us.
Wow.
But September, I'm not sure what that's going to be, but we are planning, Bezrat Hashem, God willing, we are planning 2 tours next year. So if people are interested in either one of those, I don't have dates yet, don't have any way for you to get a deposit in yet, but we will get that information as soon as we can.
Fabulous. Mike, thanks again for everything. And for everyone, be strong, have faith. We'll get through this together.
See you next week, or I'll probably see you before then.
Don't threaten me.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Be safe, man.